Okay, so welcome. Today we're going to talk about intercultural communication. My name is Kylie Becker. I'm the Associate Professor of Communication at Eastern Arizona College. I have with me today Jakub Stepanovic, and we're just going to introduce ourselves a little bit. I'll probably start and then hand it over to him, and then we're going to go through just a couple different questions that I have for him on intercultural communication. So for those of you who don't know me, like I said, my name is Kylie Becker. I'm originally from Kansas, but I've also lived in Colorado and Alaska and now Arizona. I have traveled to Canada, Mexico, China, uh, Portugal, Spain, Czech Republic, Scotland. And I really love traveling and I really love talking to new people. And I guess that's the base of some of my intercultural experience. Most of mine has been like tourism related. So we have Jakub here to talk with us about some of those other aspects. So would you like to introduce yourself for us real quick?
Yeah, sure thing. So, hello everyone. I'm Jacob, and I'm a visual artist born in Czechoslovakia. That country doesn't exist anymore, but as a result of that, it just happened that I've been trying to find a home, and I've lived in many countries across Europe. Then I lived in States, China, and last 4 years or so, I've been based in Scotland, but I had quite a few work trips abroad, and so I didn't really have much choice just to uh, find out how to talk with other people, not just about myself, but about job-related elements and also about social life because it's quite important to have fun with people and uh, and it's been just tremendous learning experience to just experience all these different people with different approaches, different beliefs, and so yeah, we will talk about that because it's fantastic, and I'll recommend it to everyone.
Okay, so in your opinion, what are some of the most important concepts or just things to know about intercultural communication?
Right. Yeah. So intercultural communication usually consists of members of different communities. It doesn't necessarily need to be someone from the other side of a planet, but cultural differences can be even, say, if you're from Texas and you speak from with someone from New York or from Nebraska, there can be some differences here and there, and so it's truly a good skill to have and to practice because it can open plenty doors for you. And I guess one of the most important things that you should start your conversation with is just be really willing to try it because many people are kind of passive when it comes to communication, and that isn't really welcoming for many other people. But when you're trying hard and you're putting the effort of understanding the other people and listening the other people, then they'll see that you're actually engaged, and you'll be surprised how many people will be willing to help you. So say if you're dealing with someone who is speaking with a different language, then if you do a little bit of research, for instance, and learn a few phrases, then many people will see it as just a nice gesture, and slowly but surely you become closer to these people, and they'll be willing to open up, which is quite necessary for the communication. And another thing that is just as important is to be open-minded, and this is very much easier to be said than to actually do, because many people would say, "Oh, I'm open-minded," but and uh, and then it can be challenging because people are different. We sometimes it's easy to think that everyone is thinking like I do, but this is not the case. And the further you go from your hometown or from your family, from your close relatives or friends, the more differences you'll encounter. And so just don't assume and don't be full of prejudice or full of some sort of stereotypes about some country. So if you're talking with, say, uh, there are stereotypes about every country, and just I know uh, in the US I heard that people from Germany are really big on beer, and some people are, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is. And same goes with the Netherlands. Netherlands has the kind of legend around it that everyone is high 24/7, smoking weed everywhere. And some people do, but not all of them. So just don't be thinking that everyone is like you saw it on the TV show or in some movie, because that is quite often very twisted, and it's not going to do much good to you or the communication in general.
Well, thank you. Um, do you have any like specific tips or tricks for intercultural communication? So if you're, let's say, in your home country and communicating with someone of a different culture in your home country versus if you're traveling internationally.
Yeah, so obviously, if you're in your hometown or home country and you're talking with someone who is not from there, then you have the advantage of A, the language, and also B, all the background in terms of you know the culture much better, you know the local habits, the customs, beliefs, all this stuff. And depending who you're talking to, but maybe they don't know anything about that. That maybe they just arrive from the airport and they are like, this is, I know the weather's nice, but what else? They don't know if there is, say, for example, some celebration and stuff like that. So uh, maybe it's worth to sharing some of it, and just talking about how they are, what's their goal here, what's their path, how they actually end up there, because sometimes those are quite extraordinary stories with people who been all over, or this is their first travel and first time away from home, and all these people have just cool stories to share. So listen to them, and they will be happy to listen to your stories and learn more about your cultures. And again, be open-minded. That helps a lot with everything. Well, and if you are somewhere else, then maybe just go the other way around. Try to be interested about the culture of the place where you just visited, because again, sometimes this can be not just open up. It, besides being it an experience that will open your eyes about certain issues, it can be great fun too, because say uh, you go on the other side of a planet, chances are that they have very different cuisines there. And so you may just ask some local, being like, hey, can you recommend me a good place? And if you're there on either a work study program or just working with someone, and you have coworkers, that's a good place to start, because they will be more willing to spend time around. But even if not, just ask around, and maybe the people will go there with you. And then if you're trying new food, that can be good experience, and it can also be a very good atmosphere to start sharing a bit more and talk with people about your journey and about their journey. So uh, be curious about what you're seeing, because it's like entering a movie or entering a book. It's really hands-on approach. You're somewhere else and you see perhaps if you go to say it and you see all these quite old structures which are fantastic and very grandiose, massive, and they've been constructed before some countries were established. So this is pretty just bold claim, and so be like touch it and be wow, this is fantastic. Enjoy it, uh, enjoy the weather, enjoy the local atmosphere, and just try to find something that you cannot do in your hometown. It's quite easy, but it's also very easy to be stuck in a hotel room. But hotels are all over the world, and all the rooms looks pretty much the same. So you're not going to uh, learn a lot about the culture when you're sitting at your sofa and watching a TV. Go out, talk with people. And again, if they'll see that you're trying, if you learned a few basic phrases, it's super easy these days with internet. Just find uh, how to say thanks, how to say hello, how to say where is it, how can I find, and if they see that you're putting honest effort, they'll just help you out, and that's a great start to get a bit deeper.
Thanks, or I guess Jakui, if I
Hmm.
want to say it in Czech. And that little smile said that I totally butchered the pronunciation again, but I'll keep practicing. Um, so what do we
See,
do?
you don't actually worry about it. It's very common that people would worry about, say, accents, or that you put mainly if you're trying to write something. Uh, it's so easy to mess up grammar. But generally speaking, people are interested in what you're what you have to say rather than how you're going to say it. So the content is more important than the way you say it. And you will have weird accent because I've been traveling a lot, and for last 10 years I've spent pretty much every year in a different country, or at least some part of the year was that I have either some internship or placement elsewhere. I don't have a good accent in any language, so you can hear it with my English, and any language that I speak is somehow not 100%. And so some people could say that I'm a stranger in every country I go, and up to a degree, maybe there is some part of a true in it, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter because what matter is what you have to say. And if you have cool stuff to share, and I'm sure you do, everyone does, then you can have brilliant chat with someone who is from some parts of Argentina, Congo. Literally, the list goes on. There is hundreds and hundreds of countries. So, and in each of them, there is something exciting.
Okay. So what should we do if we accidentally make a faux pas?
Right. Yeah, that is going to happen. So perhaps the first thing is to accept it, and it kind of follows on some of the things that I already mentioned, that um, well, you're not going to be perfect with either the language or the knowledge of the culture, and the second can be bit of a shock, because the language, that's kind of, it's just a way of saying, but when you have things which are just different way of doing entirely, then that can lead to some tricky situation. One thing to avoid it is, so say again, if you have some work placement, ask your workers who've been in that country, is there something I should know? Like in some countries, there is maybe a specific word that is sort of taboo that you just shouldn't say in the middle of a city square, or some gesture with your fingers, or different countries would have different expectations when it comes to eating food. And so all of these things are kind of good to know. And so if you can ask, if you can learn that beforehand, well, 100% do it. But chances are that even that coworker of yours, or maybe if you go to some uh, study abroad session, maybe your classmate, they may forget something. And so some disaster happened. Well, it's not disaster. It happens to pretty much everyone, and so just deal with it as an adult. So if you said something which insulted those people, or something that you may think it's not offensive but maybe it is, well, just apologize and explain that you're coming from a different culture where that gesture is not offensive at all. It can be actually the same way around, that they'll say something that you feel offended, but they don't mean it. Just talk through it, and be open about it. And if you explain your situation, they'll get it, and they won't be upset about it. Or if they will be truly offended about it, maybe you need to find better people to talk to. But people are just cool with it, and they'll get it that uh, you just arrived, or they just arrived, and that's why communication is so important. Because if you'll do something and you'll see that people are giving you a weird look, and you're like, oh no, oh no, oh no, and then you'll just kind of shut down all the interaction, and you wouldn't talk with people, well, they don't know what's happening. But if you're like, oh, sorry mate, yeah, this is just, I'm new here and I'm still learning these things. Can you tell me a bit more about it, so maybe I don't do it again, and so on. Um, they're like, oh, okay, fair enough. And you will get explanation, and it's again hands-on learning. So no need to be about it as if it would be again some massive disaster. It's just people make mistakes. It's okay.
Uh, is there anything else you'd like to add on or mention before we wrap it up?
Just if you have a chance, and you will have a chance, do it for sure. Do it. Um, Talking with people who are coming from different backgrounds is is just as good education as you're getting to get in institutions. Sometimes it can go even further. You may don't get a diploma out of it, but it will make you aware of certain issues from first hand, which is generally very good. Think about it as if you um, if you see some monument in the U.S. in person, you remember it way better than if you just see it in television. And and the same goes about different habits, and again different cuisine, beliefs, and sense of humor. It's fantastic. And the more you know about it, the more you can appreciate it. And why wouldn't you want to do that? It's fantastic. Go ahead and talk with internationals. And if you have a chance, travel abroad, and possibly get some work experience there. And before you know, maybe they'll send you to some conference to talk about the impact of internationalism to cities, which happened to me. And was a good experience too.
Well, thank you so much, Jacob, for sitting here and chatting with me for a little bit. I will put the link to your website in the description so any of my students can go check that out and see what kind of stuff you're doing and that you work on and the places that you've been. But once
Yes.
again, thank you so much.
Right on. Have a good one.